to get the money back from the time we're in there, and
oh, good.
And compensate, and they compensated us by offering us a free night's accommodation at another.
Well, I'm glad. Well, thank you for doing the right thing, Paul. I would have put my foot down and not acceptable. I would have stood up for myself too. So good on you. Yeah. Good on you. Yeah. And I mean, I've talked about it before too, with the problems we're having with Uber and taxi cabs. Yes. You know, I'm not. You know, you at home, you're going to say, "Oh, you're being mean. You're being discriminatory by saying this." Well, the truth of it is that sometimes people who drive taxis come from countries where they may not have the same knowledge that we do in our countries. So it's a very, very typical problem that a lot of these drivers sometimes, in my opinion, are discriminatory on purpose. Other times they are just as often discriminatory out of blissful ignorance, meaning they simply maybe come from a third world country and they just don't know about it. They just simply don't have the knowledge. Either way, the companies need to have laws and they need to educate the drivers and say, look, in this country, here's how it works. The better question is, why don't the black cab companies educate the drivers? What do you think about that?
I think education is a huge thing, because I think one of the big problems through my experiences has been that sometimes you literally get people who just don't want to engage with you. You can try and be as reasonable. You can reason with them as much as you like, but if someone has a problem, I mean, I've even had, I can't remember where I was now, but there was one particular occasion when I pointed out that the dog was a mobility aid, that she was entitled to be in the place, and the guy basically turned around to me and
said, I'm sorry, you started to speak a little quickly there with your British English. I didn't quite catch it. The dog was T8 what? Say it again.
So I tried to gain access to a particular venue,
right,
with my guide dog, and the person manning on the door basically said, you know, you can't bring that dog in here.
Right.
So yeah, I tried to reason with him.
Okay.
But he actually went as far as saying to me, you know, people like you would not be tolerated in my country.
Oh my God. All right. You know what? I would have just walked away. Fine. You don't need my money then. I would have just walked away from him.
Sometimes you have to. But
yeah.
I remember one occasion where the tables were totally turned because we turned up at an Indian restaurant not so far from where we lived. We walked in, and initially we met with the opposition of, you really can't bring that dog in here, etc., etc. And we got into this discussion, and during the course of the discussion, I actually said to him, "Is it because you're perhaps frightened of dogs?" To which he admitted. So,
well, yes, but the crutch that they lean on is fear.
Yeah.
But it's what they're really leaning on, in my opinion, is they're leaning on the social norms of their country and their society.
Yeah. But eventually we persuaded them that they said, well, because I said to them, let us come in. If the dog causes any problems, we will leave. There won't be a problem. And by the end of the meal, they were coming up. They were giving the dog tidbits, which was in itself something. I did say to them afterwards, well, actually, you know, the dog is a working dog, so it's probably not a good idea. But it was great to see the transition over the course.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Absolutely not. I think at one point when I said, "Please don't give the dog any more poppadoms," the guy jokingly turned to me and said, "Oh, very well, sir. Is the dog now ready for the Vindaloo?" And I was like, I think I preferred the poppadoms. It was hilarious.
Okay, I think, you know what, in my heart, and you know what, I've been in those situations where you feel very, very frustrated, very awkward, very embarrassing, very uncomfortable situation. Looking at it from the situations I've been in, and from my bird's eye view of that, I would have just laughed along and said, I would have said, well, no, Nani was my dog's name. I would have said, well, no, Nani's full, but yes, please, I would love some more Vindaloo. I would have just taken him up on it. Hey, he's giving it to the dog. Why don't I get to eat it?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's interesting, and sometimes even in France, I've faced some discrimination when I took my guide dog there. There was one store where they just said, "Hey, no thanks, you need to leave," Or there was one weird one where it was like a sub shop. They were just teenagers, so it wasn't really I didn't need to make a big scene about it, but there were these teenagers in this sub shop, and I was taking a course to perfect my French. And me and some classmates, we would always go out. I remember it now. We would go out to this one particular shop and buy sandwiches, and we went there for a few weeks. And about the third weekend of me going, one of the workers, was looking back, it was just kind of odd. She comes out, and I'm translating the meaning of the conversation. Excuse me, sir. I see you've been bringing your guide dog into our shop a lot. Why is that? I said, basically, I explained in French. Well, she's a guide dog, so she's allowed. And then she said, yeah, okay, but my manager just doesn't want dogs in the shop anyway. So there's certain little things that you have to let go, and certain other things that you have to make an issue of. So I was like, oh, okay, I just won't buy sandwiches from them. Not the end of the world, but
Yeah.
but sometimes there's just very odd situations can occur
Mm-hmm.
with those types of things. But that's really fast. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stories about that, but that's all really fascinating. And then have you gotten into podcasting yourself? Because you have a lot of material,
I haven't actually, no. I thought about it a few times, but it's not something I've actually pursued.
Well, I think you should.
Uh-huh.
I think you have a very interesting story. And
Thank you.
And now, how did you make the connection with Matthias, by the way?
It was through the block of flats where I live in. Matthias I've seen him around a few times, and it was because he worked with it was Pete Sands, one of the tenants here, introduced me and had explained that Matthias was looking for people who had been successful and wanted to interview successful people with visual impairment, and that's how we forged the connection. The original plan was to do one interview. We've actually done 3 now, and I think there may be more in the pipeline. I'm not sure at this stage.
I certainly hope so. I interviewed him, and he's interviewed me. I think you guys can tune into his episode. Well, I don't know. He said October. He did say it takes him a little bit longer to edit, which I don't do. I just kind of have a freestyle where I just record, send it in, push play, and then go. A very open, I just push out as much content as possible these days. But I want you to know that this was a really, 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 really enjoyable episode. And do you have any like final questions? I mean, I ask you a lot, but what do you want to ask me?
Oh, nothing like being put on the spot.
Okay, here, I'll put you on the spot.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you have any questions for me?
I can't think of anything at the moment, no.
Well, I will certainly send this episode to you. I will certainly, since we spoke so highly and so much of Travelize, I will send this episode to them. I think they would enjoy hearing it. I think that considering that they are not able to plan trips, I think a great reward for them would be to hear all the great stories that we have been having with them as a sense of motivation for them. And you are always welcome on my podcast anytime you want to come back and record episode 2. I'm really looking forward to always having you here, man. And I will certainly look up that Jubilee Sailing Trust. But I mean this from the bottom of my heart. If you ever hear about a sailing trip for blind people around the world, if you want to go sailing, just reach out to me, because Aaron Richmond, Aaron's Opinion, absolutely wants to go. There are, at this moment, there are a couple restrictions, but probably if the boat leaves from maybe Florida or the Caribbean, I could probably arrange for myself to be there. Or maybe Hawaii or a state like that. I can't get into England at the moment, but these types of trips take a while to plan, so you kind of have to plan it ahead of time. So if you know anything, as I said, just, you already have my email, or after this episode, I'll send you the WhatsApp group that I'm on. That is for my show. WhatsApp is far easier than email. You're welcome to WhatsApp. All right?
Okay, that's great.
All right, everybody. I enjoyed that. If you have any opinions, complaints, concerns, or questions, aaronsopinion6@gmail.com. I don't know why you're so afraid to email. I don't know. Maybe you'll think you might be afraid of my opinion or something. All right, then, everybody. Well, you have a very good evening. Have a very good evening there in the UK. And as I like to say, you're always welcome. Have a good day today and a great day tomorrow.